Hey guys, today I'm going to talk to you about how you can make tileable textures using objects in Blender. Now I've seen this been done in ZBrush a couple of times, and I've seen people sculpt tileable textures straight onto mesh in Blender, but I couldn't find one that showed you how to do it with objects. So I wanted to make a quick video to show you how you can use a variety of objects to craft different textures, whether you're doing a cobblestone path or wooden beams or stone wall, whatever you fancy. So let's get straight into it. So first we need to do the setup. Start by pressing Shift A and adding in a plane. We want to scale it by 0.5, so press S 0.5, and that's going to be what we bake. This is going to be our texture that we bake. So we can press Control A and do all transforms, so that's what we're going to keep as our baking point. So if you go into top view with 7, if you duplicate this, press right click to cancel the movement. If we press G, Y 0.5 and G, X minus 0.5, and that'll put it in the top left corner of this grid. You can see underneath. We can hide the original plane because we'll need that later on. What we want to do is we want to add to this, we want to add an array modifier. So if you can add modifier, click array, or just search for array. And instead of relative offset, we'll change it to constant offset, and we'll have 1 meter. And then we're gonna, for the same thing then, we're gonna add another one and do the same again, but instead of X being 1 meter, we're gonna put Y as minus 1 meter and get rid of the change that to 0, so that we have this kind of array going on. Because what we want to do is add shapes to this, which obviously copy over to all the other sections, but we only want to capture this middle section, and that'll be our tileable texture. If you want, you can add a camera to see this add. Press Alt R and Alt G to clear the rotation and movement. We want to change it so it's orthographic and change the scale to 1. And if we go on side view and we can move it up to there, example, this is just for your own view. We want to change the ratio so it is a 1024 by 1024 ratio, because that's what our texture will be. And now every time you press 0, you can see this will be what our tileable texture, in case you need to check it later on. So if we go into our plane that we made that has the array modifier on, we go to edit mode with tab, you can see now if we press 7 in top view, you can see this is the section we're going to work with. And we're going to add in a cube to begin with. As you can see, it's very, very huge. We need to scale it right down. And what you want to do basically is create kind of a brick pattern or whatever pattern you want. As I said, you don't have to use cubes, you can use spheres, whatever shape you want as your tileable texture. So we can just, we don't need it this big, we can bring it down, move it around, and as you can see it's copying to the other section, but it's quite hard to see. So if we toggle this viewport shading and turn this X-ray one off, you can kind of see a bit better, because what you want to do is you can press, obviously you can press Shift D to duplicate and move it along. You don't want it to overlap another one over there, because that's not going to be tileable. You want it to make sure that it's perfect. So you don't have to worry about this section on the right here, because it's already being taken care of by this section on the left here. The main thing is to do a bit of randomness, because with tileable textures, you know, it's very easy to see repeated shapes. So we can stagger this, so it is not exactly in a straight line. All I'm doing is duplicating and I'm pressing scale either on the X or the Y. And if you come off of it, you could press, if you go over one of these, you can press L to select the whole thing. And again, you can press Shift D to duplicate it. And keep maneuvering these around until you are happy with where it is. I'll just speed through this next part. So I've just quickly knocked up a random arrangement of, well, we can do rocks or stones or whatever. So if you press 0 on your keypad, then you get kind of see what your tileable texture is. Next part is to add some randomness to it. As you can see, yeah, some of them I've scaled differently, so they are a bit higher. But what you can do is still in edit mode, you can change the Z-axis so it is all a bit more random. I think they're a bit high right now, some of these. So we can just tweak it so that some of them are higher than others, some of them are lower than others. just to give it that bit of difference. We don't want them all to be the same. We need that randomness, so it works quite nicely. And what you can also do is you can press select one and you can press RR on your keyboard and kind of like rotate them. If you want that stylized look of randomness, you just, for that stylized look, you can just rotate them a bit and in different angles and give it a bit of a nicer look. Okay, if I put cavity on, maybe shadow, you can kind of see already a nice wall pattern emerging there that we can use for something. No matter how many times you play with it, you'll probably want to play with it more just to get that nice feature. But until you actually check it out and see what it looks like when it's repeated, then you know that's when you know, oh, okay, maybe I needed to do this a bit more random or this a bit more random. Obviously, all these are all one object right now. It's all one plane. What we need to do is select all in edit mode and press P and select by loose parts. Okay, so now all these different rocks that we made, so this one, this one, this one, this one, they're all individual objects that we can sculpt on. So this is the time consuming part now, is you want to take your time sculpting each individual one so they look really nice and it all works together quite well. We'll start on the top left, for example. We can isolate it with the / key on your keyboard, and currently we don't have to have these arrays on. We can turn them back on afterwards. Make sure the scale is applied, so Control A and scale. Then in Sculpting, showing all these, but all we have to do is click that / key again. We want to remesh this block, so remesh it to whatever you fancy, whatever works for you. In this case, I've gone 0.2, and we can check, we can sculpt on the edges, and it looks quite nice. I think we need to go back and turn on Shade Smooth. And remesh, and what we can do now is take some time just sculpting out different rock look that you want. So I'm going to time lapse the next bit of me sculpting out each individual rock. So this is what I've got. I've just sculpted the edges a bit with the scrape brush and some of the old brushes, and it's got overall a nice feel to it. It's all immediately looking a lot better than it was. If you press 0 on your keypad, because you've still got that camera on, you can kind of see this is what your tileable texture will look like. What we want to do to begin with is combine all the rocks together with Control J. So they're all one thing. And again, if we go into Sculpting, we can scroll down to Mesh Filter, Inflate. We inflate them, and then it all kind of closes up together nicely. Seems to be some technical errors when you shade it smooth. I don't know whether that's just Blender erroring in Blender 0.4 or in Blender 4, but for some reason if you go to tab mode and then come out of tab mode, it seems to fix. But yeah, use the inflate brush to kind of like bring them closer together. You might see the odd gap, but that's okay. It depends how you laid it out in the first place. But this is already looking like a nice stone path. What we want to do then is decimate these, because they are 8.8 million tries right now, which might slow your computer down. Depends how much you remeshed on each individual rock. But we can add a decimate, and we can change this to 0.1. It'll take a little time to go through because it is decimating all these meshes. But give it a second. As you can see, that's brought it down to 800,000 tries, and there's no real significant difference to these. We can apply this with Control A. We can press our mesh and press our plane and Control J to join them back together. You now have an 800,000 try lovely wall to bake. Now you can bake these within Blender, from a high poly to a low poly. It's been such a long time since I've ever done that, so I recommend checking out videos if you want to do that within Blender. Otherwise, I'm going to take this into Substance Painter. I'm going to export the high poly, I'm going to export the low poly, and we're going to take it in Substance Painter and bake it in there. So we brought in our low poly plane that we're going to bake the texture onto. If we go to our bake settings, then we can change these output size. We're going to do it at 2K texture. We're going to choose our high poly that we just made. I'm going to change it to mesh name. Let's go LB. Oh, let's go HP. These are the settings I always go through. You might not have to do them, but I'm gonna do them anyway. Usually it's just when you've got multiple objects, but and we're gonna make the height map as well. As you can see, it's a bit red, so we need to increase that frontal distance so it can pick up everything, and increase the max rear distance as well. And we're going to bake and see what it looks like. Return to painting mode, and this is our tileable texture that we've just made. Obviously you can then spend some time and texture it however you want. Once you've done all your texturing, then I've just chucked a quick stylized kind of material that I've made. You can export it all and take it back into Blender and make sure it all works. As you can see then, once you've got your texture applied, it is perfectly tileable and ready to use within your scene or game or anything. It's just a plain, simple texture that's repeatable, and it'll look, to be fair, obviously with a bit more sculpting and texturing nicely, you could get some really nice results. Well guys, I hope that was useful to you and you enjoyed the video. If you did, please click that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And please let me know in the comments if there's anything specific you would want me to teach. As I said, I am working on a game project of my own, and everything I'm trying to learn I could make into a video. I've been learning a lot of Unreal Engine 5. If you'd like videos on that as well, I can do that too. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.